What is family to you?
Right now, at this point in my life, family is like very much tied up in like art. My daughter's life and raising a new life can be part of art. Having my child be part of my life in that way has been really awesome and is opening up, I think, new lanes of thinking about the world. I used to be guided by like fear and hate and aggression, and now I think I'm learning how to show strength through love.
Are you a New Yorker?
Yes, I am.
You look and sound like a New Yorker. That's a huge compliment.
Yes, oh no. Sometimes I get embarrassed. Sometimes I guess when I get like a sip of alcohol, I'm like, yeah, and people are like, you sound crazy. I'm like, oh no.
Really?
But I try to be cordial. I don't think I have like the thickest accent, but sometimes when I get excited, I have an accent.
Right, it comes out.
When I get very excited.
Does it come out more when you're around like family or parents or people like that?
Yeah, I guess when we argue, it definitely comes out and stuff like that. Yeah. We definitely have lots of talking.
Really?
Jewish household, you know what I mean? Big Jewish household.
Where do you grow up in New York?
Upper West Side. Okay. Yeah, big family. My mom's are twins.
Oh,
and
wow.
So my mom's are twins, and between the two of them, there's 5 kids, and they're mirror twins, which is like one in like a lot. Like, and
I've never even heard that term, so they like really look alike.
Literally means that the cell was split in the womb. In my grandmother's womb, their cells were split, and so one is right-handed, one is left-handed. They're like the same person. And
Whoa.
so I've always been like, I have 2 moms, but I don't have 2 moms. I also have dad, and my 2 moms are sisters, and so between them, there's 5 kids, and then they have another sister who has 2 kids, so most of the time there's between like 4 and 9 of us, like, running around wreaking havoc and stuff.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, growing up was a lot of fun and a lot of chaos. And I'd say that like, you know, realizing as I've grown up, and especially like becoming like a father and a partner with Asha, and like realizing that like I definitely come from a household of privilege comparatively to a lot of folks, you know? Like I was never like food insecure or housing insecure and stuff like that, you know? Like my family loves to read and shit like that, you know what I mean? And then at the same time, like growing up, I had a lot of issues. Like I had a lot of behavioral issues. I got kicked out of school in the 3rd grade.
Whoa, for what?
I don't know, like there wasn't like, I used to fight a lot and like I couldn't read. And I would like get upset and stuff, and kids would like maybe call me stupid and stuff. And so I had like a lot of issues as a young child, and I was put into like special ed like schools and programs of weird ass situations that definitely like made me, you know, feel different and othered, and like, you know, and had issues with my family on top of that, as like, you know, my pops was a legal aid lawyer specifically in Queensbridge and stuff like that for people who were housing insecure and stuff like that. And so like me not trying to get out of school all the time or getting kicked out of school, my pops was like, oh, you're the shithead, you know what I mean? So I was definitely like the you know what I mean, thought of myself as a young person as being stupid, you know what I mean, which is terrible. And I think I still struggle with that sometimes, you know what I mean? Sometimes Asha calls me a stupid idiot, and like sometimes I'm like, yo, chill, yo, like, you know, even though I am a stupid idiot. But so basically, I guess like after that, like really embracing like my friends around me, you know what I mean, and other folks that were around me in the city, and going, you know, discovering like punk shows and riding bikes and drugs and music and graffiti and stuff like that. And then really, because I had this large group of siblings basically, really put me on to like create and reach for like a second family, you know, chosen family, if you will. And I guess that's kind of like upon the creation of Corpus, which was originally just like a bunch of homies that were all freaks and just running around at shows and doing what we did, you know what I mean? And writing graffiti and having fun.
How old are you at that time?
Like 17, 18,
wow,
stuff like that.
Like real like New York teenager.
Yeah, like going, you know, and also at that time still with Letter Racer crew, you know what I mean? Which is like, just like a downtown crew of idiot kids and like having a lot of fun and making art and going to other people's houses and stuff.
Must have been wild. I mean, I was a young kid in New York, but then I lived in Salt Lake City and eventually Seattle, which are totally different places. But I can't imagine like actually being a teenager in New York because there's just so many different like subsets. I mean, you're already talking about a few of like.
I can't imagine
like
not.
100 different cities.
I mean, kids are always like, oh, I moved to this place because where I was from was boring. And I was like, dang, that sucks. Like, I really I can't imagine it. But, and so, you know, other people, you know, now I have a daughter. So other folks are like, oh man, you're going to raise your daughter in New York? I'm like, where else would that happen? And also my whole family's here. You know, my partner and myself both have all of our extended family here. So, you know, right now she's going to sleep at grandma's house tonight, you know what I mean? So it's a blessing.
Got the whole network.
Exactly, yeah. So we can't just give that up, you know what I mean? But so back to like being a kid in the creation of like Corpus and Show Me the Body, all around that time and that era of like feeling very lost as a young person, and then really sort of like starting to build this second family, really creating this beautiful, beautiful family that was really built upon love for one another and protection. And through that, you know, doing music more, throwing shows in the city, and through that second family, kind of like, you know, becoming the man that I am today, I think. And through that second family, now me and Asha, I always joke that Asha's like warlord of Corpus, but it really is true. Nothing organized besides a fight would happen without Asha. And now me and Asha have a child together. For a long time, I always thought that like life was about loss. You know what I mean? And it's mostly just getting through the loss. And then I think we realized that you can make a homie too. And now, and not only is Sure our child, but she's like, you know, the whole crew's baby too. You know what I mean?
Where did music begin for you? Were you young? It's a musical family?
Music really, I mean, my pops loved like the Dead, you know what I mean? And like, you know what I'm saying? So like music was on, and he also liked other cool New York music and like Tower of Power and stuff. He liked Fania records and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So music was always on as a child, and I was interested, definitely. And also my mother and her sister, these scary twins, were also operatic singers, you know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
And so so they, you know, so
they both were.
They both were at a time, yeah. So
wild.
yeah. I mean, Passover was crazy, you know what I mean? Like a lot of singing, a lot of harmonizing. But it wasn't so when I was having a lot of trouble, I was probably like 8 years old. I was having a lot of trouble in school and like, you know, behavioral issues and stuff like that. And I had not a friend in the world. And my mother brought me to her friend's house, Michael Pestalozzi, God bless him, is no longer with us, but he was this like 6'3" skinhead who played on a lot of records, an amazing guitar player. And he was badass. He was a badass dude. And he also suffered from severe dyslexia. So I think she really brought me over there just to meet an older person who was functional, who was going through a similar, and all the time he'd be like, yo, Jules, you feel like this? Like you had this ever happen to you? And I'd be like, yeah.
Oh, wow, and you're like 8 or 9.
Yeah, and I'm like, that happened to me the whole time, man. So that was really important, you know what I mean? Really, God bless my mother for like showing me a friend like that, you know what I mean, who could give me that kind of guidance and feel okay by myself. And at the same time, he was a badass guitar player, so he taught me how to play. And he really like asked me, he was like, yo, what do you want to play? What do you want to play? You know what I mean? And at the time, like, all I listened to was like the Ramones, and then like Madball and Alien Ant Farm, because they did the Michael Jackson song, and Michael Jackson, since I was maybe 5 years old, has been my favorite artist in the world, and continues to be my favorite artist. Michael Jackson is incredible. Yeah. And so it was really being in Michael Pestalozzi's house, which was on 69th. He lived in this small apartment on 69th Street in Broadway, above this like Chinese restaurant, and the lead singer of Urban Waste lived next to him, and so that was awesome. When I realized that when I was a child,
Urban Waste lived on 69th and Broadway.
Yeah, and I was like, I mean, like that was a funky spot back in the day, and when I found that out, I was like, yo, what? Like my favorite band lives next to like my OG of like guitar. Like it was, that blew my mind. But Urban Waste still, that 7 inches, I still listen to it sometimes, you know.
Well, I'm curious, you mentioned Passover. Holidays are always fascinating. We have two moms, both opera singers. What were holidays like in that sort of, with a big family in New York?
I mean, like, holidays, I mean, when we were kids, I think it was just chaos, just like total chaos, you know? And now, you know, I think in the past couple years, like, you know, Asha is my partner, and Asha comes from a completely different background, you know, born in the Bronx and Puerto Rican, you know what I mean? We're all white Jewish folks, you know what I mean? And so sometimes there's definitely been a clash of culture in like, you know what I mean? Which I have to like witness, check my family on, and then also like go through, you know what I mean? And try to like, you know, try to be like, have love for my family, but also recognize that the life that I have built and that me and my partner are building together is a different one at the same time too. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's still highly celebratory and a lot of music, and everybody sings, doesn't dance.
And you're still doing the big holidays? Like, do you still celebrate in a different way and with different people?
I mean, well, our last Passover was at our house, and it was just like Corpus Passover, and it was like our close other two homies who are also Jewish in Corpus, and like try to leave it open to and you know, during Passover you pour Elijah's cup, and you know, if Elijah shows up, and her brother's Elijah, so Elijah always fucking comes, and he, you know, so that's a good thing. But also, you know, anybody's like always like welcome with us, especially any like young Jewish kids that don't have a city to go to, and like any of our friends that they're maybe from outside the city, don't have a place to go. Because also, I think something that's important about being Jewish, and it's funny too, because a lot of Jews don't talk about this because it's part of the King James Bible. But in the King James Bible, as Jesus carried his cross, a Jew jeered at him, and God smote at him in his eyes and took his sight away. And so that Jew was damned to walk in the wilderness alone and wander the earth. He damned to wander blind. And I always thought that was a dope image and a beautiful legacy, and I feel that way, and I feel like some of my other friends feel that way too, about who we are, and that like to be a wandering Jew is a blessing. You know what I mean? To be wandering around this earth and to be always in search and to remain a student. You know what I mean? I think that's inherently part of the Jewish identity that people don't really talk about, but I think to be a wandering Jew is a blessing.
Can you go back very far in your ancestry? Do you know much about your great-grandparents, where people came from, how they ended up in New York, anything like that?
I mean, so on my mother, I'm really connected to my mother's side, which is like the Jewish side of my family. And that's like Belarus and I guess now Poland.
Right, depending on where they divided the line and when.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. Which is funny too, because my family, a lot of folks that I know who are in that geographic situation don't like communists, just like they don't like the Nazis, because it was the communists that divided that line. You know what I mean? But honestly, I'm not like, you know, I know like Ukraine, Belarus, Poland, Russia, and then some of them got out, you know, and some of my family did not. Some of my family was killed by their neighbors in pogroms before powers that be occupied their territory. Wow. You know, my grandfather escaped, and he was 7 years old on a boat to America, singing songs for bananas. So when he was on his deathbed, I was chilling with him, or his first deathbed. The motherfucker didn't even die, but he's like 80-something years old. He's dead now, you know what I mean? But his first deathbed, he was like, yo, why aren't you in school? And I was like, yo, I graduated. And he was like, no, you didn't. He was like sharp. And I was like, oh fuck! Like I literally just lied to my grandfather's deathbed. Right? And my uncle was there. He's like, Jules, like, what do you? He's a rock and roller. He plays rock music. He's on tour. That's why he's in Chicago. You know what I mean? That's why he's in. And my grandfather was like, wow, is there applause? And I was like, yeah, there is. Yeah. And he was like, that's cool. That's pretty cool. Wow. And that was like, like hard ass immigrant grandfather. That's like the most loving you get. You know what I mean? And it meant a lot. And I still think about it. You know what I mean? And for many years, I sang to him after, like when I would sing, I sang to him for many years. Sometimes I sing to other folks that I've lost too, but now most of the time when I think about it, I sing to my daughter, which is the most lovely thing, because sometimes I'd be like, man, who am I gonna sing to? Who am I singing to today? You know what I mean? Sometimes it comes very easily, but sometimes you have to think about it, and now there's nothing to think about. I sing to my daughter. Right. It's very easy.
That's such a great, like, really sort of intense, deep question, actually. Is there applause? I mean, he wanted to know if you're affecting people, right?
Yeah.
That's like, that exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a badass dude. Came to this country, was not a Zionist. You know what I mean? Was a very badass, hardworking Jewish man. And on my father's side, not Jewish. From like, I don't know the 23andMe. My cousin says that he did it. I don't know if he really did it. But he says like Cork, Ireland, way back type shit. Right. But they're Scottish folks. And my grandfather came to this country and started the Pratt Institute. My great-grandfather started Pratt Institute.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't have a connection. I think some kids see my last name and they're like, man, like, he must run the admissions there. Like, I'm like going, I mean, like, yes, no. But I really have, no, I'm not involved. But it's a cool ass school, you know what I mean? A lot of cool people come out of that school.
Yeah, beautiful campus. I used to live right there.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
What is family to you?
Yo, I mean, family is like, I don't know, because I think family is obviously like what you deal with, right? But it's also creation, you know what I mean? And at least right now, at this point in my life, family is like very much tied up in like art, because that's what I do. Mm-hmm. And like we shot a video. I trained Kung Fu in the park when I was younger for like 6 years. And my master, Jew from Bensonhurst, awesome dude, David Kaplan, shout out David Kaplan. He's in Rome now. He married a woman from Rome, so he goes and lives with her and raising his son in Rome. And so we got the label to send us to Rome with my daughter to go hang out with him. And then we had to go to England to play a show with Popular Front, which is a ill media organization out of England, sort of like grassroots journalism. But just to be in those two situations with my daughter and with Asha, and then was like, my daughter's life and raising a new life can be part of art. And at least if that's what you do, it should be, you know what I mean? And even if you don't, perhaps it should be, you know what I mean? And obviously, like, doing things that other folks have realized is good for kids to do is good, and taking like advice or like knowledge from others or people who have done this before you, as humanity has, is good. But also doing what you have to do and not necessarily changing your life, but making it apply to a child and sharing your life with a child, and it changes also what you do with a child. And it's been definitely like the most life-changing thing for myself, is like becoming a father, and having my child be part of my life in that way has been really awesome, and is opening up, I think, new lanes of thinking about the world. You know what I mean? Whereas I think I used to be guided by like fear and hate and aggression, and that was like, how I led people, and that was really like my that was my vernacular, and and like how I showed strength. And now I think I'm learning how to show strength through love, you know? And having a daughter has really helped me do that. And, you know, it's funny, my friend Fizzy from Legendary Cat from New York Hounds, has a new band called Lucy. He told me recently that a part of you has to die with that person so that another part of you can be more like them. And that was like, that, I've been like bugging out on that for like a month since he said that to me. I've been like, and when he said it to me, I was like, oh man. But it really, that's been the most amazing wisdom another human has given to me, that's helping me deal with this time that I'm going through right now.